Hey there. Today we're going to learn how to compare decimals. And comparing decimals is very similar to the way that we would compare whole numbers, or even fractions for that matter. I'm going to use one of three comparison symbols, either the greater than symbol, the less than symbol, or of course the equal to symbol. And really, the way that I'm going to compare decimals is I need to compare the place values. So when I would compare whole numbers, I would line them up according to their place values. And in decimals, sometimes that can be a little tricky. Really the easiest way to line up decimals according to their place value is to just line up the decimal. So here I'm going to take this decimal and place it directly under that decimal. And then I'm going to put the numbers in their corresponding places. And now when I'm comparing 3/10 to 7/10, what I'm really doing is just looking at which of the highest, or which number is higher in the highest place value. So the highest place value in these numbers would be the ones place, but we see that there is zeros in both the ones places. When we move to the tenths place, I see that 7 is larger than 3, so therefore I would say that 3/10 is less than 7/10. Another example here. Here I have hundredths, and I'm comparing hundredths to tenths. And again, just simply by looking at this, we can't just look and say, oh, well, this number is 49 and this number is 6, so 49 is larger than 6. Instead, we have to continue to line up the decimal point. So again, I'm going to bring my decimal point right underneath here, and I'm going to put my 6 right underneath the 4. And now, when I compare the highest place values, I would get to the tenths place and see, well, 4 is actually less than 6. So this 6 actually would be greater than 4. So 49 hundredths would be less than 6/10. And guys, when there is a blank space after the decimal point, when I'm comparing two decimals, I can fill that in with a 0. And now it's pretty obvious that 60 hundredths would be larger than 49 hundredths. And sometimes that's hard to see until we annex that 0. But by putting that 0 at the end, I have not changed the value at all. It would be the same as if I added zeros, extra zeros to the front of the whole numbers. I'm not changing the value in any way by adding a 0 to the end. I'm simply able to compare now hundredths to hundredths, and in a relatively faster amount of time. Take a look at another example. Here again, I don't simply just want to look at that and say, oh, 71 is larger than 4. Again, I want to make sure that I'm lining up my decimals. I'm going to annex a 0 to fill in for any blank spaces that I have. And now I can compare 7 to 4, and I do see that 7 is larger than 4, or 71 is indeed larger than 40. So I would say that 71 hundredths is greater than 4/10. Let's do one more example. In this example, I have 9/10 and I have 90 hundredths. And again, I can't just look at the number that I have here. I need to line them up by lining up the decimals. And I'm going to plug in this number right here. And again, I see that 9 and 9 is actually equal. And if I annex a 0, an extra 0 at the end here, I still have 90 hundredths and 90 hundredths. So even without this 0, these two numbers would be equal because they have the same amount in the tenths place. And there's nothing in the hundredths place here, but there's nothing in the hundredths place here. So these would actually be equal decimals.